Hello. Today, you will hear a story about a man's revenge. I spent my childhood in a port town, so it is not surprising that I could not live without the sea. My father taught me to fish from a young age, and I really liked it. The bright sun, the sound of waves crashing against the hull of the ship, or complete calm, and only the cries of seagulls are heard somewhere in the distance. All this fabulous sea romance was drawn to me. I was completely entangled in these nets. And of course, the excitement of fishing has ingrained in my heart. These first fish, which I myself hauled aboard the ship, were an incredible achievement for me. And since then, it has become my main occupation. I went out to sea and caught different kinds of fish. I was aware of all the fishing spots, so I always came back with a catch. Also, sometimes I worked as a guide, took out rich clients to ride on my ship, go fishing, see the local beauties. In addition to sea beauty, an incredible female beauty named Sabrina appeared in my life. This girl is like a fabulous mermaid who relaxes on the beach. Once I was fiddling with my ship near the beach where Sabrina was sunbathing. She drew attention to how definitely I managed the ropes on the deck, showing off my pumped-up torso. Soon she swam up to me and asked, "Hey, sailor, can I ride with you?" I looked around and saw this lovely creature. She was like a senior who beckoned me with her voice, and I just could not refuse her. I was fascinated by her angelic voice. She came on board and we got to know each other. We had a great time that day. I was at the helm guiding my yacht along the landscape of deserted islands, Sabrina soaking up the sun's rays elegantly lying on the bow of the ship. From now on, we started seeing each other again. And our meetings grew into true love and a strong relationship. The sun rippled in his eyes, shattered into 1,000 pieces in the rough sea. I was returning to the port after a successful fishing trip. I was in a hurry to hug and kiss my beloved Sabrina, with whom we had already been married for 15 years, and my young son, Carl. Words cannot express how happy I was when we were together. Of course, it could not do without family quarrels and scandals, but nowhere without them. Sabrina didn't like that I spent so much time at sea. But I tried to earn as possible to provide for my family and give valuable gifts. At first, it was very hard. But in the future, I developed my maritime business. I already had several boats and a loyal crew with whom we made great money. Once when I was sitting with my family in a restaurant, a strange man approached me. He apologized for distracting us, but asked me for one favor. It was another guest of our town who wanted a beautiful excursion and fishing in the local waters. His name was Michael. Everyone advised him to find me, as I am the best in this business. At that time, I rarely made such excursions. But still, the man persuaded me. He offered to go with my family and said that he would pay a tidy sum of money. I talked to my family and we agreed. It was a nice sunny morning. My son was running around on the deck. My wife was sitting in the cabin, and my guest was importantly walking around the yacht, inhaling deeply the sea air. We went on a short trip along my crown route. The weather was just right, and all the local landscapes were revealed in all their beauty. Michael was pleased with this walk. Besides, he managed to catch a wonderful sea bass of a decent size. But that's not the only thing he liked. While I was at the helm, he had a nice conversation with my wife. I didn't mean to sound paranoid, but this interaction bothered me a lot. After the end of the walk, we said goodbye, and I hoped that I would not see this guy again. I obviously did not like him. After a while, my relationship with Sabrina also began to change. Initially, I didn't notice it, but as time went on, I began to see how Sabrina began to treat me more dryly. From that beautiful Sini MPH who dragged me into her love nets, there was no trace left. It scared me a lot. I loved Sabrina very much and did not understand what was happening. But conversations on this topic did not end well with me. She asked not to raise this topic anymore because, according to her, everything was fine. She loved me madly and tried to do everything for our family happiness, and here I start incomprehensible conversations A hope was ripening in my head that all this was not forever, just such a difficult period. After reading a little specialized literature, I calmed down a bit because many couples have experienced such periods in their lives. But if you do not back down from love and try to change it, then there is a high probability of maintaining the relationship and returning their former spark to them. I was not used to giving up, and therefore I tried my best to rekindle our passion as it was before. One day, I decided to surprise my wife. With work at sea, I finished a few days earlier than planned. Therefore, I decided to return early, arranging a romantic surprise. I arrived and quietly entered the house, but there was number one there. I didn't get through to Sabrina and dialed my sister. My sister said that my son was with her. Sabrina left him with her for a few days, and she went somewhere on business. It was quite strange. What else is there to do? I went to my sister's to pick up my son. My sister couldn't add anything else. Sabrina arrived in a hurry and didn't really explain anything. I didn't understand what was happening. I took my son home. A few days later, I still got through to Sabrina. She scaredly asked what I was doing at home so early. I confessed that I wanted to surprise her. Sabrina apologized for not warning me, saying that she had gone to a nearby town to settle some business in connection with the death of her aunt. She did not want to drag the baby into this routine. On the one hand, I felt a lot better, but I still had an incomprehensible feeling that there was still something wrong here. These suspicions began to gnaw at me. I decided to take a break from it all. I wanted to be alone. I asked my sister to sit with my son for a day, and I went out to sea on my yacht to enjoy the majesty of the Varsa. Here I could finally calm down. A few hours later, I was sailing near one of the beautiful islands. Sometimes I took pictures of these beautiful landscapes with a camera attached to my head. This time, I also decided to photograph the beautiful nature, but suddenly I noticed a boat unfamiliar to me more near the shore. There was usually number one here. On a small stretch of beach, I suddenly noticed two people. Through binoculars, I saw that it was my wife, and next to her was Michael, upon seeing whom I was shocked. What is she doing here? I decided to mourn and go ashore, but when I went ashore, they were gone. I started looking for this couple along the shore. Suddenly, I saw that not far between the trees there was a tent. I approached this tent and wanted to call out to them, but suddenly, I heard their heavy breathing. Holding my breath, I crept up to the small window in the tent. When I looked there, I was simply dumbfounded by what I saw. That sugary bastard had my wife right in front of me. My rage knew no bounds. I jerked this tent so that the pegs hammered into the ground scattered in different directions. Then I shook this couple out of the tent. They obviously didn't expect to meet me here. I started punching this bastard. Sabrina tried to hold me back, but I flung her aside. This bastard began to tearfully beg me to stop. I wanted to just kill him, but I found the strength to stop in time. Trying to catch my breath, I shifted my gaze to the naked Sabrina, asked how could you with him? So what are you doing? Suddenly Sabrina jumped up and began to tell me how wonderful he is, not like me. Then I saw her true nature. She was like a snake that sprayed poison on everything around. She thought about leaving me with her son for the sake of this freak who came to his senses and began to say that serious problems would await me. I replied, "We'll see about that," and scared me with my fist, from which this scoundrel shied away. Leaving, I drowned their motor, took their clothes and threw them a couple of oars, wished them not to linger because they would have to row for a long time and there was no mobile communication here. On that day, my life changed dramatically. I realized that a deceitful creature lived with me who now hoped to snatch a bigger piece from my property during a divorce. And it seemed to me too little revenge just to break the face of this scandal and humiliate them. I wanted to take revenge on them more seriously. In this city, I was well acquainted with influential people and enjoyed their respect. I asked to get me information about this bastard from my friend who had good connections. Soon he provided such information. This bastard didn't have a penny on his back. He was simply married to a wealthy woman who obviously didn't know about his adventures here. And for my wife, I prepared a good surprise just for her rotten nature. Before the court session, these creatures were already here. Michael grinned and said that I would answer now in full, but then suddenly his wife appeared, to whom I kindly sent the video from my camera. I forgot to turn it off, and the whole scene was beautifully captured. For my wife, this was also a surprise because she did not know that Michael was married. Now Michael had bigger problems than trying to get back at me. Judging by his conversation with his wife, they will get divorced and this beast will be left without a penny. These battles had to be seen. I savored every moment. Their faces were green with anger. As for the division of property, the court took into account the whole situation and took my side. I transferred the main property to my son in advance. Sabrina was left with a house on the beach, but even there I prepared a surprise. My last surprise: I was standing on a hill with a good view of this house. I saw Sabrina drive up to this house. But when she opened the front door, a bunch of rotten fish poured out. This smell will stay here for a long time. She ran and screamed, but I got into the car with a smile and drove into the sunset. Now I won't have a false traitor at my side. My life moved on and now I was able to please my son and myself even better. Dear listeners, your support is very important to us. If you like our story, please like, comment and subscribe. It's very motivating for us. We need your feedback to improve our